The Hero from Nithdale Station by Dick Tripp. Dick wrote his dad's amazing story, remarkable true story of Major Charles Tripp, the boss. He's one of the few New Zealanders who was awarded a Silver Star by the Americans for his bravery in the Second World War. He headed up the Fiji Commandos in the Pacific. Father came in one day and sat by the bed and started cleaning his pistol, the one he'd brought back from the war, which had saved his life on a number of occasions. I got him to tell me the story of his night out in a Japanese camp, which he did in some detail and which I remember to this day. He was out on patrol and they came to a path. Father told the others to wait while he crossed the path to make sure there were no Japanese about. There was thick undergrowth on the other side of the path, so he started to run down the path to find a better spot to enter. Suddenly a Japanese opened up with a machine gun. He looked down and saw the Japanese looking over the top of his gun about 10 or 12 yards away. Obviously he'd been taken by surprise and had not had time to aim properly. Father didn't get hit. Father raised his Owen gun to fire, but it jammed, so he threw it at the Japanese to deflect his aim and dived into the bush. The Owen gun was generally a very good weapon for bushfighting and was simple to use. However, sometimes it jammed. Father said that they'd learned to give the magazine a slap with the hand before firing to prevent this happening. As Father was lying in the bush, the Japanese started throwing grenades. One landed right beside him about 2 feet away, but he never got a splinter from it. Sometimes the Japanese grenades did not splinter well. He said that the blast practically lifted him off the ground. He thought he'd better get out, so he jumped back on the path and ran back down it, firing his pistol behind him. As he did so, he got back to his men and told them to get back in the bush. He and 2 Fijians got separated from the rest of the group, and later in the evening they were walking through the bush when suddenly one of the Fijians made a hissing noise to warn Father of danger. Father stopped. He was in a small clearing and a full moon was shining. He didn't realise it at first, but he'd stopped right beside a foxhole in which were 2 Japanese. One of them leant out of the foxhole, grabbed Father around the waist and twisted him so he was facing the other Japanese, who placed his gun on the first man's shoulder and fired. Father had his pistol out and shot the first man before the other fired. He still had the magazine of his Owen gun in his pocket. The bullet went through some American money in his pocket, through the dead centre of a small notebook in a leather case, through the metal casing of the magazine of his Owen gun, which he still carried in his pocket, denting some bullets which fortunately didn't explode, and then ricocheted off a cigarette lighter. He got a piece of shrapnel from the bullet in his wrist, which remained there for many years. In his last years, as his arms got thinner, this caused more pain, and Rosa took him to Invercargill to have it removed. We still have the notebook, the dented cigarette lighter, the magazine with the hole through it, and the dented bullets in a framed glass case with his medals. The blast burnt the clothing around his chest and it force knocked Father flat. He told me that he instinctively began feeling for the bullet hole as he went down. He shot the Japanese as he was lying on the ground and scrambled into the bush. One of the Fijians later told him that there was a 3rd Japanese in the foxhole, so the Fijian jumped over Father, who was lying on the ground, and hit the Japanese over the head with the butt of his rifle. The Japanese looked for Father for a while, but eventually gave up. Father was lying behind a log when a Japanese came and lay down on the other side. He waited until he could tell by the man's breathing that he was asleep and then crept away. He decided that the best way out was to pretend to be a Japanese, so he began to walk around normally, and to his relief, he found that the Japanese took no notice of him. It worked so well that he decided to look over the enemy positions. He was a bit concerned about his height. Father was a little over 6 feet and the Japanese were significantly shorter. I'll leave it there. If you'd like to read some more, you can pick up a copy from your local Christian bookshop online and or wildsidepublishing.com. Thanks for listening. Bye.